Perseverance, staying faithful in our vocation. Welcome back to our series on Introduction to the Devout Life by St. Francis de Sales. In our previous episode, we discussed how to overcome anxiety by finding peace in God's presence. And today, we will focus on the virtue of perseverance, an essential quality for anyone seeking to live a devout life, especially for those of us in religious vocations. St. Francis de Sales teaches that perseverance is the key to remaining faithful to our commitments, even in the face of challenges and difficulties. Let's explore how we can cultivate this vital virtue in our lives. Understanding perseverance. Perseverance, according to St. Francis de Sales, is the steadfastness to continue in our good works and commitments despite obstacles, fatigue, or discouragement. It's the determination to keep moving forward on the path of holiness, no matter how difficult the journey may become. St. Francis de Sales compares perseverance to a strong tree that withstands the winds and storms. Just as the tree's roots must be deep to survive, our perseverance must be grounded in faith and trust in God. It's not about never stumbling, but about getting back up and continuing on our journey with renewed hope. For example, imagine a nun who has dedicated her life to teaching. There will be days when she feels exhausted, faced with challenges in her classroom or in her community. Perseverance means she continues to show up, to teach with love, and to trust that her efforts are part of God's plan. This commitment is essential to living out her vocation faithfully. The importance of perseverance in vocation. For those of us in religious life, priests, nuns, and seminarians, perseverance is crucial. St. Francis teaches that our vocations will come with challenges, doubts, and trials. There will be moments when we question our calling or feel overwhelmed by responsibilities. In these times, perseverance is what keeps us grounded and focused on our mission. Perseverance allows us to push through the difficult moments, to remember why we chose this path, and to continue serving God's people with love. It's in our steadfastness that we reflect Christ's love to the world, showing that our commitment is not just a passing phase, but a lifelong journey. For example, think about a priest who encounters resistance in his parish when introducing a new program. Instead of giving up in frustration, he perseveres, trusting that God is guiding him and that his efforts will ultimately benefit the community. Overcoming obstacles to perseverance. St. Francis de Sales acknowledges that there are several obstacles to perseverance that we must recognize and overcome. Understanding these challenges can help us remain steadfast in our commitments. Obstacle number 1. Distractions. First, distractions can easily lead us away from our purpose. In our busy lives, it's easy to get sidetracked by endless tasks, social media, or the noise of daily life. St. Francis encourages us to set aside time for prayer and reflection, to focus our hearts and minds on God's will. Obstacle number 2, spiritual dryness. Spiritual dryness can sap our motivation. There will be times when our prayers feel empty and we may question our devotion. St. Francis de Sales reminds us that this is a normal part of the spiritual journey, and during these times we must persevere in faith, trusting that God is still at work within us. Obstacle number 3, doubts and discouragement. Doubts and discouragement can weigh us down. When faced with difficulties, we may wonder if we are on the right path or if our efforts are worth it. St. Francis de Sales encourages us to surround ourselves with a supportive community and to seek encouragement through shared faith and experiences. Practical steps to cultivate perseverance. Now that we have identified some obstacles, let's look at practical steps we can take to cultivate perseverance in our lives. Step number 1, daily prayer and reflection. First, establish a routine of daily prayer and reflection. Set aside time each day to connect with God. Seek His guidance and reflect on your commitment to your vocation. This will strengthen your resolve and keep you focused on what truly matters. Step number 2, setting realistic goals. Set realistic goals for your spiritual growth and ministry. Break down your commitments into manageable tasks and celebrate the small victories along the way. Recognizing your progress can motivate you to keep going. Step number 3, seek support from your community. Lean on your community for support. Share your struggles and joys with fellow religious, priests, or friends who can encourage and uplift you. Together you can persevere through challenges and hold one another accountable. The reward of perseverance. St. Francis de Sales teaches that perseverance leads to great rewards, both in this life and the next. By remaining steadfast in our commitments, we not only grow closer to God, but we also become instruments of His love and grace in the world. The perseverance we cultivate today prepares us for the challenges of tomorrow and ultimately leads us to the fulfillment of our vocations. Remember that our journey is not just about our efforts, but about God's grace sustaining us every step of the way. In conclusion, perseverance is essential for living out our vocations faithfully. St. Francis de Sales encourages us to remain steadfast in our commitments, trusting that God's grace will support us through challenges. By cultivating perseverance through prayer, community, and realistic goals, we can continue to grow in holiness and love. As we conclude, let's review a few takeaways from today's discussion on perseverance. Number 1, perseverance is steadfastness in our commitments. It's about continuing our good works and staying faithful to our vocation despite obstacles. Number 2, recognize obstacles to perseverance. Be aware of distractions, spiritual dryness, and doubts that can hinder your commitment. Number 3, practical steps to cultivate perseverance. Establish daily prayer routines, set realistic goals, and seek support from your community. Number 4, perseverance leads to growth. Remaining steadfast not only strengthens our relationship with God, but also prepares us to be instruments of His grace. Number 5. The journey is supported by God's grace. Remember that perseverance is not solely our effort, but also God's grace sustaining us along the way. Thank you for joining me today as we explored the importance of perseverance in our vocations. In our next episode, we will discuss the role of charity in the devout life and how it helps us grow in love for God and neighbor. Until then, live Jesus.